Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today I want to talk about what it feels like to go without buying any books for 5 months. So this is the wrap-up video for my 100 book challenge that I've been on since November of last year. So regular viewers of the channel will know about this. So this is a challenge I set myself where I said I would read 100 books I already own before buying any new ones. And it's been interesting. So this is something I've done before. So I did it starting in November 2021, going into 2022, and then did it again for 2022, going into 2023. And it's less challenging than you would expect it to be. So I'll talk a bit more about the kind of mechanics of it and why I did it and how it felt in a minute. But first, let me talk about some kind of stats type stuff. So as I say, I started it in November of last year. So I started on the 8th of November, finished it on the 11th of April. So it took me just over 5 months, 5 months and 3 days to read the 100 books. During that period, I actually read more than 100 books. So I think I read about 111 books during that period. And the reason for that is you can, so this is a challenge, you know, you set yourself, and because you set it yourself, you can give yourself some kind of caveats and rules to make it a bit easier. So because I've got the channel, because I like to take part in, you know, kind of reading events and things like that, I set myself a few little rules to make it a bit easier. So one of those was I could still accept books as gifts, but if I do accept a book as a gift and then read it, it doesn't count towards the 100 book total. Similarly, I could still get books from publishers and authors for review. And if there were like reading events or book groups or things like that I wanted to take part in, I could do that. But if I didn't already own the book, I could borrow it from the library. But again, it doesn't count towards the 100 book total. So as I say, that meant that during that period I did read 11 books that I didn't already own, but they don't count toward the 100 book total. So in total, during that 5 months, 3 days, I read, for the challenge anyway, I read 28,704 pages. So my average was about 287 pages per book, which feels about, you know, averagey to me. So I wasn't deliberately selecting short books to read for the challenge just to get through it more quickly. I was reading, you know, whatever I would have been reading anyway. I did have some DNFs in there as well, so those didn't count towards the 100 books. So I started both War and Peace and Great Expectations and DNF those. So those, you know, perhaps slowed me down a little bit. But yeah, I didn't count those towards the 100 book challenges. I didn't finish them. So through that period then, so the shortest book I read was 30 pages long. So that was The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. So a short story, but available, you know, you can buy it as an individual book. So I counted it. The longest I read, which to be fair, I could have counted as more than one book, because this was originally published in, well, it was originally serialised in a magazine, but then was published in, I think, 12 or 13 collected editions. So that is Death Note by Tsugumi Obha, the manga, which was 2,400 pages long. So I did count this as one book, perhaps foolishly. I may have got through the challenge more quickly if I'd counted it as multiple books. But yeah, this was fun. The longest novel I read, so this is a manga, so it didn't take me as long as it would have taken me to read a nearly 2,500 page novel. The longest novel I read was Drood by Dan Simmons, which is 775 pages. So how did it feel? So well, let me talk about the origins of the challenge first, in case people don't know. So as I said, I originally did this in 2021 into 2022, and I set it as kind of a penance for myself. So when I first started this channel, I started it to win a bet with my kid. And the bet was to see who could get to 100 subscribers first. And when I got to 100 subscribers and won the bet, I started feeling a bit guilty about the fact I hadn't been upfront with all of my viewers about the reason I was doing the channel in the first place. But I wanted to continue doing the channel because I was really enjoying it. So I set myself a penance to read 100 books I already owned before buying any new ones. And I set that just as something for me, but a lot of other people got involved at the time as well. And it became a, a really positive experience. And when we got, kind of to November time of this year, or last year, 22, I started feeling like I kind of wanted to do it again. And a few of us were chatting. So Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads and I were chatting, and Michael K. Vaughan as well. And we decided we were going to do it again. Now, Michael has actually extended his challenge and is doing a 500 book challenge. I did toy with the idea of doing that, but I've decided that's just too much. But yeah, Michael is continuing with his 500 book challenge. Greg has got past 100 books and is continuing onwards with his. He hasn't weakened yet, I don't think. I'm not sure Greg is convinced he's going to get to 500 books. David Wiley is doing it as well, so another great booktuber who's worth checking out. So some people are continuing, and there are a load of other people as well who've got involved with the 100 book challenge, and you can set the target to be whatever you want it to be. I've gone with 100 books, but other people are going with 25 or 50 or whatever. And we do have a channel on my Discord server where people who are doing the challenge can discuss it, can get support if they're feeling like they're weakening a bit. So if you fancy doing it yourself, do hop onto the Discord and check out that channel. If you want any tips and things like that from people, there are loads of people who are doing it who I'm sure will be happy to help, including me, obviously. So how does it feel? I have to say, and I found this when I did it before as well, it actually isn't that difficult. It was much less difficult when I did it the first time than I expected it to be, and I think second time around it was even easier. Now, I do have the benefit of having loads of books that I haven't read, both physically behind me and on my Kindle. So I've read a lot of these books, but I certainly haven't read all of them. And I have, I think around 2,000 unread books on my Kindle as well. So for me, that makes it easier because I've always got a ready supply of stuff to choose from. But as I say, I didn't find myself prioritising shorter books to get through it quickly. I just enjoyed what I was reading, and what I read, during that 5 months has very much been driven by the kind of reading events and things like that. I've been involved in the projects I've set for myself, like the Disturbing Books project, rather than any desire just to read stuff that was going to be quick and easy to read. But it is it really does feel like a positive experience, and I was kind of reflecting on this, perhaps a bit pretentiously, and thinking about the fact that most of the big religions do have periods of self-sacrifice built into the calendar. So Lent for Christians, Ramadan for Muslims, for example. So periods where people deliberately deny themselves certain things in order to kind of I suppose cleanse the spirit a bit. And for me, doing this has ended up feeling a bit like that. It's felt like quite a restorative thing to do. I'm someone who my book buying very quickly gets out of hand if I don't control it. And I found that when I finished the 100 book challenge the first time around, it didn't take me very long at all to have bought 100 books. I completely splurged on eBay and bought tons and tons of books. And I found that I've done that. I've done that again. So I finished this on the 11th of April. It's the 16th of April as I'm filming this today. I've already bought, I think, between 20 and 30 books. Now, the vast majority of those are Kindle books, and I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. But I have bought, I think, 5 physical books as well. I'm going to do a book haul video soon, so I'll show you. I'll save showing you what I bought for that. But I've bought a load of stuff. But one of the things that I've kind of reflected on whilst I've been doing this challenge is that for me, there's a big difference between buying a physical book and buying a Kindle book. And the big problem I have, because I tend to hunt out bargains and buy books cheaply anyway, the money side of things is less of an issue for me than the physical space. So you can see I've got these bookshelves around. There's another row of books behind the books you can see. I've got a big pile of books here as well on a cart. I've got boxes of books up in the attic. So I've got more books than I've got space for already, which is a problem. The joy of having a Kindle is the books don't take up any space at all. So my Kindle is filled with books, and they don't take up any physical space. So, and I was reflecting on the fact that for me, people have said before on BookTube that buying books and buying books, collecting books, and reading books are different hobbies. And I've never really been that much of a collector of books. When I buy books, I buy them because I want to read them. And that means that actually having a Kindle version of a book is in many ways indistinguishable to me than having a physical copy. Because the reason I buy books is for the stories the books contain, rather than to own the object. So thinking about it and reflecting on that, I think what I'm going to try and do going forward is try and limit my buying to Kindle books where I can. But what I'm also going to do, because I'm very conscious that my buying, very quickly gets out of hand, is I'm going to try and track how I'm doing on a month by month or even week by week basis, and I'll talk about it in my wrap up videos, how I'm doing against getting my balancing my ratio of read books to unread books, so reducing that number of unread books both on my Kindle and physical ones. What I'm not intending to do is count all my physical unread books, because I just haven't got the patience for that. It would take a long time. And also, I'm sure that if I did count them, I'd then find that there was some more that I'd forgotten about. The benefit of the Kindle is it tells me how many unread books I've got, so that's easy. But what I think I'm going to start doing is reporting, as I say, week on week, how I'm doing against, what I've had come in versus what I've had go out. And I'm blessed in that I get sent a lot of books by authors and publishers, and also wonderfully by subscribers to read, which does mean that I'm gaining books even if I'm not buying any. So I need to. I'm really keen to try and at least keep a balance. That maybe not necessarily reduce, but definitely not increase the number of unread books I've got. So we'll see how I do, and you'll see that become a feature probably from May onwards in my monthly and weekly wrap-ups. So I'll start talking about that and letting you know how I'm doing at reducing or at least maintaining my number of unread books rather than letting it increase. But as I say, this does feel like a positive experience for me. This period of kind of abstinence. I find quite refreshing, to the extent that I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it again, and I think I'll probably do it around the same time of the year. So I think probably from November 2023 or in November 2023, I will set myself another 100-book challenge, and go through over the kind of Christmas period. Obviously the benefit of doing it at Christmas time is you can get some books at Christmas as a gift. But yeah, I think I will definitely do it again. And see how I get on. It's an interesting thing to do, and focusing on, for me personally, focusing on books I already own rather than on the shiny stuff that's out there, that you see on BookTube or Bookstagram, that you see in bookstores. Focusing on what I already own always feels like a positive thing to me, and it's meant that I've read some books that I've had hanging around for ages, which I probably would never have got to otherwise. They would have just sat there and never been read. So it's definitely something that's worth doing, in my opinion. And as I say, if you fancy doing it, hop onto my Discord. It's a wonderful community. We've got some lovely people there, but there's a channel just to talk about people doing the Read What You Own challenge, and to share their experiences of it. So if you fancy doing it, there's a link to the Discord in the description for this video, and in the about section for the channel as well. So it's easy to find, it's free to join. Hop on and we can chat about it there. So time for a random book from the shelves. So today's book was chosen by one of my patrons, Heidi Fogelberg. The book is Eye of the Shitstorm by Jackson Ford. So if you don't know these books, they're really fun. They're about this. So I think there's currently 4 in the series. The series is called the Frost Files series. They're about this young woman called Tegan Frost, who has psychic abilities. So the first book in the series is called The Girl Who Can Move Shit With Her Mind. And she's part of like this kind of government agency who go round fighting bad guys basically. But there's a wonderful, as you can probably guess from the title, there's a wonderful element of humour in these books as well as the kind of comic book style action. So yeah, they're really fun. I haven't read this one yet. Maybe I should have read it during that 100 book challenge. But yeah, I haven't read this one yet. Need to get to it soon, and then the fourth book is out as well. So I need to track down a copy of that. But yeah, if you like kind of light, fluffy entertainment, it kind of feels like something that should be on Netflix as a show. Just pure fun. A bit of action, a bit of comedy, and yeah, they're always fun to read. So yeah, looking forward to diving into this one soon. So I hope you found that interesting. If you've taken part in the Read What You Own challenge, let me know how you're getting on. And as I say, if you fancy taking part in it, hop onto the Discord and we can chat about it there. But as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.